We oftentimes think the Republic chose clones over droids for one simple reason: they were better soldiers. It's the obvious answer, right? Clones think, they adapt, they get creative. Droids just follow their programming. But what if I told you the Grand Army of the Republic wasn't really created to win the Clone Wars, but to ensure the Jedi lost everything? The choice for a clone army wasn't about strategy, it was about betrayal. It was a sinister trap, laid years in advance that the Jedi walked right into. The entire conflict was a lie, orchestrated from the shadows by one man playing both sides of the board like a grand chess master. And to achieve his real goal, an army of mindless droids would have never worked. He needed something far more personal, far more insidious. He needed an army with a face, or a million identical faces, that the Jedi could actually trust. That trust was the weapon. So today, we're breaking down the real reasons the Republic refused a droid army, and how that single decision sealed the fate of the entire galaxy. All right, let's start with the reason everyone knows. Clones were simply superior soldiers. The Kaminoan Prime Minister, Lama Su, said it himself. Clones are immensely superior to droids, capable of independent thought and action. And this wasn't just a sales pitch. It was proven on battlefields all across the galaxy. The standard B-1 battle droids the Separatists used were designed to be cheap and overwhelming. They were produced in mind-boggling numbers, with estimates suggesting a ratio of 100 droids for every single clone trooper. Their whole tactic was to swarm their opponents under a massive tide of blaster fire and metal bodies. But they were, to put it bluntly, stupid. They were prone to glitches, notoriously unreliable, and had zero battlefield creativity. Their programming was intentionally limited to prevent them from going rogue, which basically crippled their ability to think outside the box. A droid army was like a sledgehammer, powerful, but clumsy, and only good for one thing: clone. On the other hand, were the ultimate example of quality over quantity. Grown from the DNA of the legendary Jango Fett, they were engineered for war. They could strategize, improvise, and learn from their mistakes. They were a scalpel, capable of precision, planning, and adapting to any situation. This ability for creative thought allowed them to consistently outmaneuver and defeat droid forces that vastly outnumbered them. More than that, they could form genuine bonds. As we see throughout the Clone Wars, troopers developed unique personalities and forged powerful relationships with their Jedi generals. This created a level of unit cohesion that a droid army could never replicate. A Jedi leading a squad of clones who trusted and understood him was exponentially more effective than a Jedi ordering around a platoon of unthinking machines. But the clones' effectiveness was only part of the story. The real reason goes much deeper into the political and psychological landscape of a galaxy at war. Now, to really get the choice of clones, you have to understand the galaxy's mood at the time. Before the war even started, there was a deep, growing distrust of droids, especially battle droids. The Trade Federation's invasion of Naboo, with its cold, mechanical army terrorizing civilians, left a permanent scar on the galactic consciousness. In the years that followed, Republic propaganda relentlessly pushed this narrative of heroic soldiers fighting against endless evil metal hordes. Droids became the face of the enemy. So, for Chancellor Palpatine, proposing a new battle droid army for the Republic would have been politically toxic. It would be like trying to put out a forest fire by spraying it with gasoline. It would only create more fear and division, with citizens wondering if they were just trading one mechanical threat for another. A clone army, however, was different. It was an army of living, breathing beings. They weren't machines, they were saviors. This fostered a powerful sense of unity and shared sacrifice. With a clone army, Palpatine could sell the idea that the Republic was fighting the war without forcing its own citizens onto the front lines, which completely avoided the politically disastrous issue of a galactic draft. And besides all that, the clone army was just convenient. When Obi-Wan stumbles upon the army on Kamino, it was a ready-made solution, an army of 200,000 units, ready to go, with 1 million more on the way. For a desperate Republic, it was like being handed the keys to a brand new war machine, fully assembled and ready to drive off the lot. Starting up droid factories from scratch would have been like getting a car in 1 million little pieces with no instructions. It would have taken years. The Republic just didn't have. Palpatine presented the galaxy with a perfect solution, a heroic, effective army that appeared out of nowhere, required no civilian sacrifice, and tapped right into the public's fear of droids. He created a narrative that made the clones the only logical choice, all while hiding his monstrous intentions in plain sight. This level of manipulation is exactly what makes Palpatine such a terrifying and brilliant villain. He didn't just plan a war. He shaped the very psychology of the galaxy to accept his terms. And if you're enjoying this deep dive into the hidden layers of the Star Wars saga, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell for more of our awesome content. And so now we get to the dark heart of the matter. The single most important reason the Republic refused a droid army, the secret that made the Jedi's downfall not just possible, but inevitable. Order 66. The entire Clone Wars, it was all a meticulously crafted stage for one single galaxy-altering event, the complete annihilation of the Jedi Order. And for that plan to work, a droid army was basically useless. Just imagine a droid army being given the command to execute their Jedi generals. The potential for failure is immense. Droids can be hacked, their programming can be analyzed. Crucially, the Separatist droid army was controlled by a master signal. It was like having one master key that could unlock every door at once. A single command from Darth Vader on Mustafar shut down trillions of droids. What if a Jedi or a sympathetic tech found a way to create a counter key? The entire plot would collapse. A droid army, no matter how advanced, was a liability. A clone army had no such weakness. The sheer brilliance of Palpatine's plan was its biological lock and key. Deep within the brain of every clone trooper was a behavioral inhibitor chip. It wasn't just software, it was organic hardware. It was like a hidden override switch in their very biology. Order 66 wasn't a suggestion they could analyze. It was a biological imperative that instantly overrode everything: their loyalty, their friendships, their respect. It turned them from trusted comrades into remorseless assassins in the blink of an eye. This is pure Sith cruelty. This is where the bonds the Jedi formed with their clones became the very weapon used against them. For 3 years, Jedi and clones fought side by side. They bled together and mourned losses together. The Jedi came to see them not as a disposable army, but as friends. That trust blinded them completely. They had no reason to suspect that the soldiers who had saved their lives countless times would suddenly turn on them. The betrayal was like a beloved family pet turning on its owner. Unthinkable, shocking, and utterly devastating because it came from a place of trust. The surprise was absolute. The betrayal was perfect. Palpatine needed an army that could get close to the Jedi, earn their trust, and then execute them without hesitation. He needed a Trojan horse. And the Grand Army of the Republic was the most sophisticated and tragic one ever built. The choice was never about which army could win the war. It was about which army could successfully slaughter the Jedi. So why did the Republic refuse to use a droid army? It started with the obvious. Clones were better soldiers, a scalpel against the droid sledgehammer. Then it became political. A living army fostered a sense of public unity that Palpatine expertly manipulated while tapping into a pre-existing fear of droids. But the ultimate reason was far more sinister. The clone army was never truly meant for the Republic. It was a weapon forged by the Sith, for the Sith. It was designed with a single purpose in mind, to be the blade that would be pressed against the Jedi's throat when they least expected it. A droid army was a blunt instrument, clumsy and unreliable for the delicate, devastating work of Order 66. The clones, with their biologically programmed betrayal and the genuine bonds they formed, were the perfect surgical tool for the job. The Grand Army of the Republic wasn't built to win the Clone Wars. It was built to make sure the Jedi lost everything. The choice of clones over droids wasn't just a military decision. It was the final critical step in a plan centuries in the making to destroy the Jedi and enslave the galaxy. But what do you guys think? Could the Jedi have ever seen the betrayal coming? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and as usual, I'll see you next time.